I thought about electric vehicles versus the smart grid and the Ethernet, Internet of Things. Many of these problems are surmountable problems. They're not necessarily easy problems, but there are no known technology barriers surmountable using current technology. You need lots of complex things like capital investment, industry alliances, public policy. We heard about most of these today. Charging infrastructure is one. Location, availability, adapters, billing. There was an article earlier this week in Mercury News about this person having to carry 3 different cables with him in his trunk so that he can charge his vehicle wherever he can. So how about a single standard for plugs or voltage, for God's sakes? Billing, that problem was mentioned earlier. There's the 4th of July problem, the aging power distribution infrastructure. I live in Palo Alto. This calendar year we had 3 power outages. One was due to an accident. The other 2, aging distribution infrastructure. And we probably have a few Teslas in the neighborhood, but if we had 1,000 of them and a number of GM volts, I'm sure I'll be investing in a lot of candles. And we talked about the home and garage retrofits. Basically, depending on how fast you're charging it, an electric vehicle can draw more current than the average American household. So in many cases, our garages and home power distribution needs to be retrofitted to support electric vehicles. So these are surmountable problems. There are some really difficult problems out there too, which we cannot solve using current technology. And that's mainly in the battery area. What we need here is R&D funding, public education, and perhaps some self-restraint. Starting with specific energy, some engineers here, and basically listed in kilowatt hours per kilogram. It's not very high. We probably need an order of magnitude improvement in how much energy we can stuff in a battery in order to be competitive with liquid fuels. Cost, depending on how many batteries you're buying, may vary from $450 to $1,000 per kilowatt hour for a lithium ion. And sustained power. The one problem with lithium ion batteries is they really don't like heat. They don't like high charge and discharge currents. So the Tesla Roadster quotes about 240 horsepower, but if you ran the Roadster at 240 horsepower, you will run through that battery in 12 minutes, and in the process, you'll cover 25 miles and you'll melt the battery. So it's it is another problem with batteries that we need to overcome. And finally, cycle life. Numbers vary, but typical lithium-ion batteries today last for about 1,000 to 1,200 full charge-discharge cycles, down to 80% of initial capacity. There are some red herrings as well, and lots of people will probably disagree with me. Red herrings are things we talk about. We heard these a number of times today, but in my opinion, won't work. Vehicle to grid. Why? So let's assume you have a 1 kilowatt hour lithium-ion battery. Make it simpler for the math. Let's say you bought power at 8 cents a kilowatt hour and sold during peak times for 10 cents a kilowatt hour. Okay, so you made 2 cents of profit on this cycle. And you depreciated your battery for 50 cents. You basically used 1 full charge-discharge capacity out of 1,000, and you already paid $500 for that battery, assuming the low end of the bracket. So there is no economic incentive for a consumer to engage in vehicle to grid. Besides, you will probably void the warranty on your car battery, and that was also discussed earlier. So what is needed is battery technology with 10 times the capacity of current lithium-ion cells that can operate continuously under high current conditions without excessive aging. So basically, we need the equivalent of Moore's law for batteries.